Hello Year 2. Today we're going to make this sunflower painting and we're going to use the skills that we learnt last week of colour mixing. So it'd be really helpful if you have this colour mixing chart that you made last week in front of you. Now I'm just going to put it outside of my camera space, but I'm going to use it later on. Okay, so we're going to use our colour mixing skills to paint this sunflower picture. Okay, so you will need the primary colours as well as white and black, okay? And you'll need a mixing palette and a medium brush and a very fine brush as well, okay? So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to create the centre, the seed head of the sunflower. So if you take a round pot of some description, put it in the middle of your page and draw around that pot. So this is going to be the seed head section, this part in the middle of your sunflower. And what you're going to do is you're going to paint that section all brown. So I'm going to look at my colour mixing chart, and I think I want to paint my seed head section this sort of brown. So if I look, I use red, blue and yellow to create that colour. So that's what I'm going to do first. So here I go. Move everything else out of the way. I'm going to use my medium brush and I'm going to first of all load up plenty of red into my mixing palette. Then I'm going to wash my brush on the bottom, stroke it on the side, check. Now I've still got quite a lot of red in my brush. That's better. And now I'm going to load up my blue. So I'm going to turn the paint around, load up with my blue. And if you know that blue and red will make purple, so I'll mix those two colours together. And then I want to add the yellow to make the brown. So I turn my palette around, wash my brush, and start to add my yellow. I want it to be a nice light brown, so you might need more than 1 scoop of yellow. I'm going to just use the side of the paint, and I'm not going to clean my brush, just use the side of the paint so you don't get all of the paint dirty. And then I think I'm happy with that. Let me test it on my test paper. Yes, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint around the edges using the tip of the brush. So around the edges first, so I'll do a neat, and I'm using quite short brush strokes. And then I'm going to paint the inside, and I'm going to move in a circular shape so that the painting looks smooth. Okay, and later we're going to come back to this section and to add the seeds. Okay, so there's all I'm going to do for the seed head now. And then I'm going to start to add my petals. Now, we said that the petals overlap on a sunflower, and you can see they're not just one tone of yellow. So I'm going to paint all of the petals just yellow first of all, and then I'm going to add some tones into it, but not yet. So I'm going to scoop up my yellow, stroke it on the side, and I'm going to start to add the shape of the petals. Now you can see my petals are coming off the page. Okay, you don't need to, they don't need to fit onto the page. It's absolutely fine if they come off the page. And you can see that I'm mixing. It doesn't matter if you overlap the brown and the yellow, because actually that adds to the effect of the painting. So I'm just doing swirling shapes to create the petals. and later on we will add more petals. The next stage, year two, sorry, is to then just fill those petals with paint, and you want it to be nice, thick paint. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to do that. You want the petals to be well filled with paint. You don't want any white gaps in the paint. The paint needs to be nice and strong and thick. So year two, I'm going to leave you to do that now and stop the video. Okay, year two, so now I've created the petals and the seed head section of my sunflower. I'm going to move on now to adding some different tones to the petals. If you look at the petals on the sheet here, you can see you've got some browny colours, browny tones, some white tones, and often in a sunflower, the part by the seed head is darker than the part at the end. So we're going to try and reflect that in our work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my brush is nice and clean, and then I'm going to put a dab of red on my brush and a dab of yellow on my brush. Mix the two together, and just around the base of the sunflower, I'm going to add a few tones just to show the difference in tone in the colour, the difference in tone in the different parts of the sunflower. Okay, keep adding dabs of red and yellow to your brush, and if you want to make it less red, just brush away some of the red. Okay, but just to give a difference in tone. Now I'm also going to add white highlights to the petals. So at the top of the petal, you'll often see that it's white. So wash my brush, stroke it on the side, wipe, check, add white to my brush, stroke it on the side, and then I'm just going to paint down with my white in long strokes to add some white tones. Now it doesn't matter if you can see I got a little bit of the red on my brush, and this is absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to add those white tones coming all the way down. Just makes the petals more interesting. And more realistic, gives it. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to get on with that. There we are. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some petals in between these petals, just because if you look at this picture again, you can see that the petals overlap. So here I go. I'm going to take my yellow again, and I'm just going to add in extra petals. Remember, they're going to overlap in the space. I'll put one here. And again, it doesn't matter if the colours mix a little bit. It adds to the effect of the sunflower. So year two, I'm going to stop the video again and let you carry on with that. Make sure that the paint is nice and thick so that you create a really colourful yellow effect. Okay, and you can see my colours are blending together. That's absolutely fine. Okay, it adds to the effect. So let me stop the video and you can continue with that. Now, year two, now we've got to this stage, I'm going to ask you to define the different petals. Can you see it all looks like one big petal at the moment? So we're going to define it by using white to go around the edge of each petal. So nice clean brush, dip my brush in the water, in the paint, the white paint, and I'm just going to go around the edge to define each petal. And you might want to add a few more strokes right into the petal shape. Okay, just want each one to stand out nicely against the others. Okay, so remember you want to maybe add to the new brush strokes at the back, you might want to add white strokes again. That's up to you to decide. How much white do you want to add? Okay, I will leave you to do that part, year 2. Now, year 2, now you've got your petals created, we're going to start concentrating on the seed head. Now, if you look at the seed head in these drawings, you can see that there are different tones of yellow, brown, red, even green in this central section. So we're going to try and recreate that. And we're going to do this by doing something that we call stippling, okay? And stippling is when we add little dots to an area to make an effect, okay? And we're going to make the effect of the seed heads, okay? So, first of all, I'm going to take a very fine brush. I'm going to dip it in black and I'm going to stipple in the middle, and stippling is just adding small dots to create an effect. So stipple in the middle of your sunflower. Okay, and then year 2, I'm going to add, I'm not going to wash my brush, I'm going to add a little bit of white, and you can see that the white and the black are blending and mixing together to create a grey colour. So keep going, more seed heads around the edge. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to using black. Again, I think this time I will wash my brush. And I'm going to add a ring of black around the edge. Now, the closer you do the dots together, the stippling, the better effect you will make. So it's worth taking time to do very close dots all together. Okay, and I'm going to go right to the edge of my sunflower. And it doesn't matter, again, if you go over the petals, that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to leave you now to carry on with that. So now we want to add a few more different colours to the seed head. I'm going to take some yellow first of all, and I'm just going to add a bit of stippling to the centre of the sunflower. And again, it doesn't matter if the dots overlap. I'm just going to do it in odd places. So quite a lot of yellow in the centre, and then I'm just going to dot it around the seed head. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow on my brush to make an orange stippled effect. And maybe I want to mix some on my palette as well. And mix just a little bit of orange on the palette by mixing the red and the yellow together. Here we go. Okay, so we're just adding more and more detail, and it doesn't matter if the dots, can you see I'm starting to smudge the dots together? That's actually a really nice effect. So if you are making dots over dots, it gives you a smudged effect. Just explore, see what works. Okay, so there we go. There's my stippled seed head. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with my sunflower so far. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to add, to make the sunflower really stand out, I'm going to add a background of blue. So the last stage, I think probably I want to use my small brush to go around the edges, and I'm just going to add a background of blue. So I need to use the tip of my brush to go around the edge of the sunflower so I don't go over the edges, okay? And then I'm going to fill in those sections. Now you might want to change brushes. In fact, I think I will change my brush, make a thicker brush to fill in those sections once you've gone around the edge. And this should make your sunflower really stand out, okay? So the edges of your go around to create the background of your sunflower, okay? And you can fill in all of the sections around the sunflower just to make the shape stand out more, okay? Okay, I will leave you to finish that year 2. Now, year 2, you should now have a painting that looks a little bit like this. Now, what I want to do now is I want to define each of the petals just a little bit more. So even though when we look at these sunflowers, you can't see a black line around, I just want to make my my petals stand out just a little bit more by adding a very fine black line around each of the sunflowers, and it just helps to make the petals stand out. So even though when you look you can't see those shapes, it helps to define the sunflower, to help it stand out, the colours to stand out and the petals to stand out. So you might want to add this to your sunflower. Now once you have done this, I think your sunflower painting will be close to being finished. In fact, you might decide it's finished. So once you've gone round all the edges with your black to define the petals, you may stand back, look at your sunflower and say, yes, I'm happy. You may think, oh, I would like to add a little bit more detail on those back petals, so I might add just a little bit of white. Didn't wash my brush very well, so I need to add a little bit of white at the top of those sunflower petals. You might want to add a little bit of reddy yellow at the base of the petals. I just want you to finish off by looking at what you've done. Is there anything else you want to add? So after adding the black highlight, is there anything else you want to add to your sunflower to make it finished? And that's for you to decide which parts you add, and I'll be there in the Teams meeting to give you some advice. Okay, good luck year 2. I'm really looking forward to seeing your finished sunflowers. Bye for now.